Welcome back. It's time to talk about harnessing young talents. And that's talking about Code Nigeria. Code Nigeria is organizing a series of activities to encourage the children to start learning how to code. And that code is the one that's CODE, code. You get to hear all about this. We have in the studio this morning the director, Code Nigeria, Mrs. Dele Tejuoso. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And also we have another director, Code Nigeria, Sola Bickersteth. Did I get that?
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
So let me start with Mrs. Tejuoso. What are we coding?
Okay, what we're doing, we're actually, if you look at what's happening worldwide, we're living in a global village, and technology is actually very, very high. So many things have actually changed the way we communicate, the way we do things. So because of that, children need to learn how to code. They need to learn how to actually understand technology of coding these new things that have come out for the 21st century.
Okay, so it has to do with computing.
It has to do with computing and learning new things in the environment for technology.
Okay. Now, let me come to you, Mr. Bickersteth. What is... She's talked about the programming.
Yes.
Who will be eligible, to being part of this?
Well, first of all, understand what coding is about. Coding is learning computer language. At our level, our smartphones, we have some interesting applications like WhatsApp, like Facebook. They were written by coders. That's how you're able to use them. The channel's iReporter application was coded, more or less. That's just an example. There are web applications that are very popular, like Google, Nigeria's Konga, for example. Those are applications that were written by coders. And of course, the world is ruled today by people who code. In actual fact, the richest young people in the world today are people who know how to code. That is the reason why if you, as a parent, want your children to excel in today's age, you should start encouraging them to learn how to code from a very young age.
So what age range are you looking at?
In the UK today, coding is a compulsory subject from the age of 7. It's as compulsory as maths and English. And it's ironic that Nigerian schools followed the British curriculum. So even as little as 5, the earlier the better.
Okay. How long have you been doing this Code Nigeria? How long have you been doing it?
We've done it for 3 years.
For 3 years. What's the criteria you use in selecting the primary and secondary schools that take part in this? Okay,
actually we started with 5-year-old children. From 5 to 7, we actually have programs for them. Things like Scratch, animation, and some other simple tools that they can actually learn. I read computer science and engineering, and it was very difficult because during that time, it was more of like coding language. But what they've done is to be able to break down coding into visual coding. So you can actually see it. It's more of like it's graphical. So for that age, from 5 to 7, we engage them with visual ICT softwares. Now for the older children, we're looking at 8 to 10. It actually goes up a bit, where we combine still the visual but with the programming languages. And then for the older children, that's from 11 to 16 years old, we also combine both. Then over time, they now begin to start the core programming. Because if you give kids the core programming, they may not get interested. But if they program and they see what they're doing, then it becomes very, very interesting.
So what exactly would that child be able to do in practical terms, what we can see? What can that child do? Okay,
like for instance, the program that we just had, the Code Week Nigeria, children from the ages of 5 to 7, they learned how to animate. And they came up with storylines, and they saw their characters come to life. For the 8-year-old to 10, the children learned how to how to design games. So it wasn't like a myth, because what we're trying to do a paradigm shift where children shouldn't just be consumers of technology, but they should be content. They need to create content. So the children were able to, from that age, 8 to 11, they actually learned how to design their games. And then from 11 and above, they learned how to design mobile apps. Like recently now, the national code competition, we had lots of children that participated in the program. And through the kids were able to work on their content. Now, for instance, the 8-year-old children, 8 to 10, they use their games to talk about social issues, things like global warming, things like pollution, and even this insecurity that we have in Nigeria. For the older children, they were targeting their market. That's the youth market. So they came up with mobile apps, very, very interesting mobile apps like entertainment, lifestyle, even educational apps. So that's how we've been able to do, because it's really about engaging and looking at how you can work on projects. So these are things that the children have done.
And you're not restricted. Is it restricted to particular primary schools and secondary schools, or
no? It's cross-board.
Across the country.
Yes, across the country. We actually have
a public.
Definitely. In actual fact, what we want to achieve is what is happening outside Nigeria today, to make coding a compulsory subject in every primary and secondary school. Of course, in order to ensure that there's quality, what we have done is to approach organizations that can help us to support every kid of primary and secondary schools. For the primary schools, for the public schools, for example, we have approached NIDA, and we're grateful that they've agreed to support us to train the teachers and provide self-learning kits for the public schools at no cost. I'm sure that will kick into effect very soon. Organizations like Microsoft subsidize, they provide the applications for free, so that everybody. That is the intention, is that everybody, because in today's world, learning how to code is as important as learning English language and learning. And there's research to show that children who learn to code early tend to do better in school. That's empirical data.
Mm-hmm.
So, in other words, the parents and the schools benefit from these children's coding skills?
Of course, the children. When you're a child, there's a young Nigerian, Chinedu Echeruwa. He sold his application to Apple for $1 billion sometime last year. He's probably the richest young Nigerian. Of course, his parents will be extremely proud of him. But that's an example you can hold. It's not theory. All right.
So parents should also be encouraging their children.
Well, if you want your children to succeed, if you want them to excel, it's the natural thing to do.
Okay. Now let's talk about this national coding competition.
Yes. So we're trying to encourage everybody to get involved. And of course, we're also looking for talent.
So what does getting involved mean?
So we